Good morning, folks. Sunday morning. Yesterday we did several things. We did two painting sessions, and we kind of did it a test thing. We kind of did it. That's it. Drink. And to wake up here, it's 5:40 in the morning. We should be able to go here through about 8:30. 8:30 is actually the cutoff time. I've been told that I need to be off this thing by 8:30 because I have other things to do. I got to go take the daughter to different places, but anywho, I want to kind of recap where something that we tried to do yesterday. It was kind of my first attempt at something, and all right. So this is where we left out the vehicles at. We put the decals on them yesterday, and let's see if we can get the light to cooperate here. We finished up these couple of vehicles and put the decals on them, and then put the flat on them over the decal sections. That's it. And we did spray flat, but then we put, and you can tell that this is still kind of glossy. So we're going to end up putting a brush on flat finish before we're done on these guys. So you could tell these, if you've been watching this is a multi-step process of getting this here. So I'm also I'm not focusing on this stuff completely. I'm going back and forth. So here's the BT7, and then here is the BA6 armored car. Both of these are BP cast resin things. They're kind of crude, but anyways, we've got the decals on them, and we're going to do some weathering. But I'm doing something that I've never done before, using a product that I haven't used a whole lot, which is glaze medium. And supposedly, this is, if you look at the back here, let me find the version that's in English because here's all kinds of different stuff. Water-based acrylic medium. Add to colors up to 50% to increase flow and transparency and slow down time for shadowing and detailing. Matte finish, very useful for working with pigments. So I was going to mix some of this with water, not with water, with paint, some brown paint, and do like a brown wash. Okay, instead of doing like a brown wash with enamels, I was going to do it with acrylics because I didn't want the enamels to activate the flat base underneath. And when I was done with it, it supposedly dries flat. When I was done with it yesterday, it still looked pretty glossy, like it was still in a rainstorm. But I come this morning and look at this. Look at them. What we're looking at is the lower section here with the wheels. Not sure if it shows up well on the camera resolution, but I am really happy with the results. I'm not sure if it shows up well on the camera at all, but I wanted to make sure that we had some dirt and stuff that was stuck in the treads, because we're going to have this on a stand, all these vehicles up on a stand. And if we say this is exactly the same color you have, but I want some of that dirt to be tied into the top of the vehicle. Of course, the stand I'm going to do is actually going to have more depth on it than this, so the vehicle actually be sunk into the ground a little bit there. But so far, with the one coat here, you can tell the the dirt has nicely settled in there. So I'm really happy with this product so far. So we're still going to continue doing the Jeep first before I go and do any of the other tanks, so that I don't get ahead of myself and have to repaint it. I'm a little leery. This is kind of my first stab at this, and if I didn't like this, I was probably going to go the other method that was illustrated by some of the wizards there on the internet. But I already had this product, and the other stuff that he talked was going to cost some some bucks, and it was also going to take a long time getting here. And I didn't want to wait 3 weeks to start messing with this. So we're going to be messing with these vehicles off and on. We got the second T-34 built, mostly. We already have another one. Of course, we're not going to mess with these until we're done with these 3 vehicles, but these will be the next ones that we'll do. And we got to boil that the tank treads, get them to expand a little bit so they'll fit on there. So, okay. Before we get started, I want to kind of go over an issue that I've always had going online here, and I'm not sure. Well, I do know what the solution is, but and that's not being able to film in something that's 720. So YouTube limits this to 720 resolution because it's on a mobile connection. I've said before that I have terrible internet speeds at home, but I have excellent phone speeds. I always until about 7 years, until about 7 months ago, right? June, something like that. June or so of last year, I had to replace my phone, and it is now a 5G phone. Before that, I was at 4G, and I still had no download and upload problems at all. Just to kind of give you an idea, these are I just did a speed test this morning just to kind of verify it was the case. This is my to God, this is turning. I'm seeing it upside down, like in a rear view mirror. So hopefully, you guys. So here's a speed test on my Wi-Fi at home. It's download speed of 1.51 megabytes and upload speed of what is that? 29. But on my mobile, I have 114. So I am. What is that? 50 times faster uploading than my Wi-Fi at home through my phone signal. And probably about the same. I'm 50 times faster downloading, uploading, and downloading from my mobile connection. So even if I was to connect to the Wi-Fi through my computer, and I got say a camera or something like that for my laptop and use that, I'm not going to be able to handle that high resolution, and it's going to look like crap. So I apologize, folks, for only the 720 resolution on the videos. There's really nothing I can do about it right now until I don't know, maybe the internet gets out of the stone age here in this neighborhood. We do not have they have not decided to grant us the ability to do AT&T fiber optic. So that's where we're at on that, and I really would like to be doing this in a better resolution, but it's not a phone issue. It's a bandwidth issue here in the neighborhood, and YouTube that only allows 720 maxed out on their phone connections. So I'm not sure if that's interest to anybody, but that's small talk for maybe some people showing up here. You guys, you Europeans should be having your third breakfast by now. So that's probably where they're at. All right. But I was really surprised, first of all, how subtle it came and how flat it is. Because when I put this on, I had my doubts. I mean, it was really, really wet looking. So, yeah, I am pleasantly surprised with this material. So, okay. I did not want to cover the entire vehicle in this because I didn't want the style of most of those wizards that paint. And if I covered this whole vehicle in this, look how subtle it is. It gets the difference between the tire and the body color almost is a lot less noticeable than before I put this wash on. I guess technically this is a glaze. I don't know. I use this as a wash. So I didn't want the whole vehicle like that. It would end up being very more subtle, which is actually more realistic, but it's not really the look I want to go for it. So I'm not going to be putting this overall coat on everything, on the entire vehicle. Okay. Back to the 15s. And where we are on the 15s is we've got 3 of these hand gunners done. It's these guys right here. This will be 2 stands of skirmishers, Saloy. We got 1 guy left. So let's paint his ass up. All right, we need a color for the tunic. This guy's yellowish. This one is off. This one's off. All right, so we're going to do, this guy is going to have, say, let's grab maybe a very light green. Yeah, something like this. Even this says pale blue. Yeah, we'll use this color for that. I don't like using these bright colored clothing items for these troops that are not, in my opinion, wealthy, because all of those silks and bright colors and stuff, they cost money, and these guys aren't going to splurge on that kind of stuff when you don't really have that kind of money for that kind of thing, unless you're the high rulers of society, and these guys weren't. That's my story. You guys can make them kings in your army. They're not very well-to-do guys in my army. I know a lot of people. I've seen a lot of armies where they put peasant type troops in. In my opinion, they paint them too bright, and that stuff it's expensive. It's expensive. So, all right. Let's find us a spot. Oh, this thing's gonna need one of them. It's not very. Let's get in the habit, Tony, of putting it away. That's how I get into this mess. I ended up putting them out here, and then the next thing you know, they're all barking at me. All right, so we're going to paint his tunic in this color. I'm going to use this color as a base. We're going to take, and we're going to brighten it up just a tiny little bit. A little bit more. This is the park green from yesterday. There we go. That's a little better. Now we're going to take this color over here. And we're going to make this, it's dark shade of it. So once we're done with this figure, we'll have all 4 done. We'll do two coats. We'll do a gloss coat, wait for that to dry. Then do a flat coat, wait for that to dry. And then we'll bring these guys in here and do the brush on flat coat. And then we can mount them on stands and such. And there will be 2 more elements that are complete for this army. And then we have 2 knights that are not fast, so I can interchange them with the deep ones. if need be, and then 2 war wagons to do. And then all these damn Hungarians are done. We can move on to something else. Move something else in the 15, so. All right, now we're going to take some of this and we're going to add to it and make it a little bit brighter. All right, and then we're just going to come over here and use it straight from this spot. These guys kind of have a padded type of linen. Well, I don't know whether it's a jerkin that he's wearing or something like that, but it's got stripes and. All right, then we're just going to come in here and grab the pure color. I like painting these old figures that, as I like to say, nobody gives them any love. Well, I happen to have them, so it explains how I got them in the first place. Somebody wanted to get rid of them. They didn't love them no more. Maybe they never did. All right, and then we're going to take this same color and we're going to add some white over here. And we'll use this to highlight a little bit. Okay. Now, around his neck, he's had a pair of white ones and a red one. we're going to give this guy a, we got some green here. Did we do green on something? What did we do green? Oh, the bottom of this guy's stuff. I'm going to do green around his neck. There's a little bit of color. And I already have it here. You can literally have one green and make all kinds of different colors from it by adding a black to it and bringing up the different levels and things like that. So we're just going to go ahead and roll with what we have here. Add some black. Like I said, this is the last figure of these handgunners. All right. Now let's go ahead and add more of this core color here to this as well. Oh, somebody showed up finally. Good morning or good afternoon to you, wherever you may be. Or good evening, I guess, technically. Kind of hard to reach some of these places. And even for the sculptor, because there's not really any details that are back here, you just gotta have to give the impression that there's other things back there, including a face, which is not necessarily that apparent. I know people were probably dying to see the war wagons, but we're going to leave them for last. I had every intent of doing them first, and then we had the whole war wagon. I'm not going to say fiasco because it got resolved. It was just kind of unusual. And for those of you that don't know, is I'd ordered a couple of war wagons from a vendor. on eBay, a vendor that does a lot of business on eBay. And the parts in the kit were incorrect, and they were looked like they had been opened. I was fine with it being opened and people fondling the stuff that I bought, but it kind of needed all the pieces. It was the bottom of the war wagon, so the actual manufacturer. I sent an email to the vendor, and I still, that was, I don't know, say 5 months ago, 6 months ago. I still haven't responded. I still haven't gotten a response back from them. But the actual manufacturer took it on their own to contacted me out of the blue within like 3 days and said, "We'll send you another one." And I didn't even buy it from the manufacturer. So I don't know whether the vendor contacted the manufacturer or the manufacturer. The manufacturer says that they follow my channel, so maybe they saw it on there. But kudos to them, alternative armies, to making that right. And no kudos to the vendor who I haven't heard from. I'm not going to tell you who it is. It's okay. I'm going to assume that they contacted the manufacturer and got it right, but they could have gotten it from the manufacturer and it was incorrect. But you know that's good. It got resolved. But during that time, I was already working on my Hungarians. I needed to continue moving forward. I didn't want to wait, till that got resolved. So I worked out everything else, and the war wagons are what's left. So, and for those of you who do not know, I will be putting the war wagons on 40 by 40 stands. I will not be putting them on those long rectangular ones that cause all kinds of combat situations that are weird because of only one unit being able contacting them on the side, but then the side is deep enough for 2 units and just creates extra drama. So we'll be doing them on square 40 by 40 stands. So that's a new option available for DBA 3.0 and 2.2. They needed to be on the big rectangular one. So that's the recap on the war wagons in case you guys didn't know. So kudos to alternative armies. I think they're in Scotland. They're definitely in the UK. Not sure if they're Scotland. Is Scotland still the UK? I don't know. There was a little lover spat that happened a couple of years ago. I think they still are. Of all the versions of that island out there, whether it's called, and I know what the subdivisions are, but sometimes people will say England and they mean, the whole island, and that's not correct. Great Britain is the term I've used the least. I'll say Britain, I'll say England, I'll say the UK. I'm pretty good about saying the UK all the time. Let's just say our British cousins. Well, technically not mine, but that's okay. Not after that fiasco in 1588. I've thought about doing not necessarily 1588, but other warfare of that period, 16th century naval warfare. They've got some nice looking models out for it. I just don't know if there's any rules that I would think that would be any fun. I had a bad experience playing a sailing ship game. That's what we'll call it, a sailing ship game. It's not like we're playing regatta. We're playing, things with guns that fire at each other. But a sailing ship game that a buddy of mine was working on several moons ago, and I didn't enjoy it because I didn't feel like I had really. All the ships seemed very generic. And to be honest with you, it was a more Napoleonic time period, and it was all about the crews. And if I did something, it would be, it would be periods where there's galleys and galleons and Turks and Turks, Spanish, French. But I don't know. I like to daydream about stuff like that, and then get back to reality and say, well, that was fun thinking about those things that I'm not going to do now. So, because you can't do it all. Forget the funds. I don't have I don't have the time to do it all. So, okay. All right. So we're going to do red, but I don't want the red to be super reddish. So we're going to actually mix some brown in there. We're going to go ahead and darken this one with brown. And we're going to do his sleeves and his hose in this color. He's a hoser. There's um there's a guy out there who does sailing ships type stuff in the 17th century. And there's a website or a blog page called the League of Augsburg, I believe is what it is. And this guy, well, there's all kinds of different. It almost seems like it's a club page, but the one person in particular, is the one that does the sailing ship stuff, and his pictures are just salivatingly good. I mean, it's like just amazing. I think they're 1/2400 scale, so they're fairly small, but go check it out if you guys are bored. League of Augsburg, and check out his naval stuff that's on there. It's really beautiful. He's got some stuff over in. Yes, I just assumed his gender. I'm assuming it's a guy. Um, I dare it to be a woman. Come on, we can use some more woman war gamers. He does some stuff in like colonial India. So he's got like Portuguese and like some native troops, and he's got Dutch East Indies, Dutch East Indies. I'm gonna change my Xbox handle to that, Dutch East Indies. Dutch East Indies, and I think some one with some Chinese junks and stuff like that. Some really unique stuff, and I commented on a couple of his stuff a while ago, and he said I asked him what rules he was going to use. That's the question everybody asks, right? What rules you're going to use? Even when I'm doing my World War II stuff, people are like, "Hey, what rules you use for this?" And I'm like, I'm just kind of just painting World War II stuff right now, but not really going to be playing it anytime soon. But this person said that they were going to they were making their own rules. So and they will be available shortly. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to jump on board and do that, but go check out the pictures. Just really, really amazing looking. Just really amazing looking. You'll see it and you'll want to play it. So that's and I mentioned that yesterday. When I do my World War II stuff, that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be really appealing looking. or I don't want to do it. I mean, it's, we've all seen those hobby magazines that are just incredibly beautiful. And that's what I want to do with my World War II stuff, or I don't want to do it. So, anyhow, um, morning, Tony. Sunday paint time. Yeah, he is a guy. Well, I'm going to guess it is. Do you know who it is? If you do, please tell him I love his stuff. I don't know who it is. Maybe his name's on there, but and he does like after action reports with the pictures and puts like the little name of the ship below the ship. Just really well done. That's how you do that. That's how you do that. So saw League figures up close. They are brilliant. Okay. Well, you've seen their what? Well, you're in. I think you're in Scotland, so you're in that. You're in the UK. Is Scotland still part of the UK? I asked that a little while ago. It is, isn't it? But I don't know what the relationship is within Scotland, and you don't know some of those relationships between different partitions of a nation until you go and actually live in a nation. I'll give you the example I like to use. We are the United States, and we're Americans, but I don't want to have anything to do with people from the state of New York or California. That's different. That's totally different lands. Totally different lands. I've thought about getting them, but there's a limited amount of time that we have to work on things. I think they'd paint up pretty quick, but they got like a lot of what ifs type of scenarios. It seems like what they do, which is definitely the way to go with that. I'm sure most people that get in that period like, oh, I got to do Armada stuff, and I'm like, okay, the Armada's been done, uh, and it's a lot of ships where you can do some of those smaller engagements that you can be done, but all the pictures and stuff is just really, really. I was really impressed, especially when it's 17th century, which is not my thing. I'm more of a 16th century guy. So, and like I said, you do 16th century. It doesn't have to be Lepanto. It could be, what if stuff between the the French and the Spanish, or there's other options. Okay, so this is where I'm going to stop myself. Okay, and this is what I call pain experience. What I would have not seen this if I wasn't as experienced as I am. So I want to do red on the hose and the arms, but I don't want the same color red. Okay, but I started with the same. So I'm already thinking one's going to be bright and one's going to be more pastel. So I'm starting to do the pastel on the hose, and like that's not going to work because I have a bright cough which is near the arms, and I don't want the bright arms there also. I want the bright down here so that you have the pastel between them. So I'm going to punt, and we're going to finish the arms in this color, and then we will repaint the leg part and make them brighter. This is where I was already foretelling the future and realized it was not going to turn out in a way that I was going to be happy with it. So that's what painting experience does. Like, oh, you start early, like this is not turning out like it's going to be, instead of finishing it and then looking at it three times and going, there's something wrong. I don't know what it is. So, right. There was two guys, hence League, I think. League of Augsburg and Barry Hilton used to be regulars at shows in Scotland. Uh-oh, Scotland's waking up. Scotland is waking up. You guys have been woken up. Um, I don't want to speculate what army I'm going to do next because I don't want to eat my words. But the pre-feudal Scots are looking pretty good. They're looking really likely to be the next ones. If I don't go back and like finish the Russians, which I need like 5 stands to do the Russians. If I don't go back and like get my medieval Germans with 2 stands up and finish them to bring them up to 3.0 standards. If I don't do stuff like that, then the next full army, it's likely that it'll be the pre-feudal Scots at this point because they're as I like to say, no nastiness intended. They're a boring army. And I mean by that is that they don't have all this fancy heraldry and crazy colors and flags and all that kind of stuff. And I mean that like my Irish. I mean my Irish are a boring looking army. I love them, and that's why the reason I think I would probably love the pre-feudal Scots as well, with a bunch of fast pike and stuff. But yeah, that and I'll have to start drinking scotch at the games when I bring it, to get into the spirit of things. So I know Scotch wasn't invented back then, but I'm not gonna. It's not like I'm gonna sit around and drink mead in every single army, because that's all that was available. But anyhow, that's looking likely. So we'll see. I don't want to jump to conclusions because things change. But I will tell you one thing: once I start working on an army, I'm not going to change my mind and go on something else, like I did with the Russians. Well, what happened with the Russians is I was on a roll, and then I wasn't going to be able to get the heavy cavalry done in time for the convention. I played them at convention, and they won the tournament, and uh, I ended up using Ostrogoths for the knights in the Russian army, and just kind of lost interest in painting them because they've already won. So that's the problem with playing something for a tournament and then replacing the figures to be able to get them to play is then I kind of lose interest in finishing an army because I've already played with them. So anyhow, but I've got the heavy cavalry. Uh, I've got the light horse and the cav. I believe it's a cav that they have for the general and the pre-feudal Scots. I've got the light horse. I've got all of the foot. I can make the warband work, but I probably would order about 2 packs of other guys that would look more appropriate for the warband. And I'd be good to, but I wouldn't like wait to start working on them. I mean, I've got plenty of guys to work on. I'd start knocking all fast pike out. So, and I got a cool flag already from when I got those little big man studios that came with Welsh and well, it didn't flat out say these are the flags for the Welsh, these are the flags for the Scots, these are the flags for the Irish. I just saw that it was a multi-pack of different things and did some research, looked at other stuff that people did online, and I've already designated which one's going to be for the Scots. And anyhow, and I'm not going to do the Scots Commons because Mitch already has them already. So he he likes that army. It's a fun army, but his figures are the pikes are like at a 45-degree angle. So when they encounter the opposing force, they can never touch stands. You literally have to take them and turn them 180 degrees and put them on the back. It's like they're mooning them just to get them to fit. And then once there's somebody's off from in front of them, then you can turn it back around. But so that's kind of a bummer, literally. So uh, all right, what else we got? Oh, we got a third guy that came in. Let's see. Yep, saw them at Claymore Show in Edinburgh. So the show in Edinburgh is called Claymore. Well, that's really appropriate. I like that. That's a good idea. Whoever came up with that, that's a smart one. I like that. I like when things thought gets put into them. Let's see, I don't know if I could go much brighter than this. This has got some, we still want it to look red. It's the same red as the one on the sleeves, but we've tinkered with it some. So it looks like it was bought by two different clothing purveyors. Okay. Speaking of Scotland, I watched, what did I watch with the name of the movie that I watched with my daughter last night? Olympus Has Fallen. I've already seen it. And of course, what's his name's in it, which I think actually does pretty good in those type of roles. Again, here I am again, forgetting what people's names are. You know who he is. The guy from 300, the Scottish guy from 300. I never think about actors anyway. So when I say I forget an actor's name, it's because I'm not thinking about him all day long. Even the pretty girl ones, I forget what the names are. So, um, yeah, an unbelievable storyline, but it was all right. I'd seen it maybe, I don't know, I think probably when it came out a while ago. What is that, 6 years, 7 years ago, or something like that? And it's amazing how I forget the details. Like I remember like the main details, but I didn't remember all the some of the other stuff in between there. And of course, as soon as I see McDermott, anytime McDermott's in there in a movie, he always plays a double crossing sleazebag piece of shit, no good bastard. I don't know. Has he ever played a nice guy in any of his roles? He is always like a turncoat, horrible person. I wonder if he can sleep at night. Even Michael Ironside played a good guy once. Oh man, character actors. Mitch, man of taste in armies and the friendliest laugh on YouTube. Yeah. I wonder if you could see like a family member being raped and he'd still laugh about it. He really laughs about everything. But that's okay. It's better than a grumpy mother. And there's plenty of those already. Yeah, he's happy all the freaking time. I mean, I've known him for let me not exaggerate. We'll say 12 years. That's close. And I've only seen him angry maybe three times. So he's not even that sarcastic. I am. I I live in sarcasm land. But yeah, he's always in a good mood. I'm sure if if our game group had some people that were difficult, he wouldn't be in a good mood all the time. But yeah, he's naturally happy. A man of good taste. Well, the thing is, he doesn't paint. So somebody was selling a Scottish army, and that's how he got a hold of it. So when you don't paint, you can only buy what's available, what's being sold, and what's affordable. I'm not saying he's a cheapskate, but there's some things that are they get priced outside the amount that he's willing to pay. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I get that, but that's the problem that he has. He happened to have the pre pre feudal Scots. So I've got actually feudal English. I've got all the figures to do that army, you know, and at some point maybe they'll get done. But I tend to not do. I tend to not be a big fan of building armies for the British Isles. Let me explain. Because there's lots of examples of them already on the internet. Okay, so that's why I do. That's one of the appeals to doing the Asian armies. There's not very many of those. So it's not that I dislike things from the British Isles. It's just that there's no point in seeing more of the same when I have other options. But I haven't seen very many pre-feudal Scots armies. I've seen a few, some that are painted particularly well. So and I have the figures for them, and they fight his Normans. What else? I think I think they're, and I think they can fight the Irish too. I don't know. I'm just kind of brainstorming, and the bottom line is I'm interested in most armies. Most armies are interesting to paint, and I'm not going to be able to paint them all, so that's just one of them. You saw them at Targe, at, oh boy, Kiri Muir. That's how I would say it. Kiri Muir. I don't know. And if I can't pronounce Scottish names, I really shouldn't try Welsh ones. Those people are in dire need of vowels. I also have Welsh to do. I picked up these figures like, oh, you're selling these. Well, what's in here? Oh, well, I don't really need them. Oh, they're how much? Okay, I'll take them. And I've just accumulated things over 15 years and stuff. So I'd probably still get them. I'm not going to turn down figures that are dirt cheap. I'll find a use for them eventually. And then they end up being like a whole army or a core of an army that I can buy a few more units and give them a nice variety of nice variety of poses. And what's the worst case scenario? I never do anything with them, and I didn't throw away a lot of money. It was very little. So last Historicon I went to, this guy was selling packs of museum miniatures of Byzantines, and at the time I didn't know which Byzantines they were. They're ones I could use for probably the what they would it'd be the first list there in book 3, the early Byzantines, so like Justinian's and Belisarius's forces. I could run into them and probably use them for the Heracleans as well. They were all one pose, and there's mostly cavalry, but he was selling them for $1 a pack. So I'm getting them for 25% off. So I just took them all. I mean, I'm eventually, I may not make that army ever, but I was willing to risk, I don't know, $12 or whatever on it. So, and those are figure poses that I could mix in with other stuff, because I like that kind of blended look. So pre-feudal Scots probably fought amongst themselves. Yeah, that's kind of anything that has feudal tends to have that problem, right? It's a feudal system, and they also feud. They fight against those Scots Isles and Highlands too. I got those guys to do, but that's just kind of too much of a monochrome army. It's all blade, and that's like a crutch. An army that's all blade, that's kind of like the opposite of an army that's all solid auxilia. I'll take blade against anybody, but it's also boring. Vikings. I think Luke has a Viking army, and you guys have probably never seen it being played because who wants to see 12 elements of just blade? You know, I think he does. I'm pretty sure he does. So tomorrow's Monday. We should have a live DBA game with several people showing up to play something. I'll go ahead and spill the beans. It's going to be a big battle with many people on it, on one big board. That's the idea. Now, if we end up not doing that, it's because not enough people showed up to do it. But it's going to be a. That's what the plan is. So that's all I'm going to spill out so far. But we already had one person that's not going to be able to make it. So we should have at least 6 people. We'll see. It'll be fun. Good evening, Australian Greg. I'm certainly getting a lot done this weekend. Believe it or not, not as much as I thought I was going to. The wife is away this weekend, so I'm like, okay, let's get stuff done. But it hasn't been as productive as I wanted it to be. So I'm a little disappointed. Maybe I just thought I was going to get more done in each session. I don't know. I'm affected a lot by expectations. So if I expect A and I don't get A, I'm kind of bummed out. It's just part of my personality. That's how I roll. So I don't like to. Let me give you an example. Back when there was conventions, and say we were going to do. Let's say I was going to Historicon. Okay, Historicon for us was a 4 or 5 day trip. I wouldn't pack for Historicon until the night before, because the idea of packing a week in advance and then seems to me like it would increase my chances of something happening and not being able to go because of work or something like that. It never happened, but the idea of that could happen would just totally take the wind out of my sails. I don't like to pack, so I wait till the last minute on stuff like that. Um, and I don't like the rug being pulled out from under me. And that should be the theme of 2020 was the rug pulled out from under me. 2021 is going to be a little different because I'm not going to expect anything. But 2020 was like, all right, well, we can't, they won't have this convention, but look forward to the other one. Look forward to the other one. Look forward to the other one. Now I'm like, okay, I see what we're going to be doing. All right, well, you prove that you're going to have a convention, and then I'll get excited about it. But we know what to expect. What to expect when you're not expecting. How many conventions have they canceled? One, two, three. They just canceled about a month ago the fourth one. So luckily, I'm playing every week. So, and we're doing a lot of filming and we're doing hobby stuff, and you guys are helping me stay on task. So that's all good, like to have been. But yeah, I have a lot of that happens. I don't know how much we're all affected by things that happen at work. My personality has definitely been affected by work experiences. And I would say I don't bring work home with me from the standpoint of I don't think about what is at work, but I definitely have been molded by my experiences at work. And I've become I'm pretty cynical about doing a lot of planning, and then things happen, and then I have to change a plan, and it's not like I can just avoid doing the planning. So I don't enjoy playing games, for instance, that involve a whole lot of planning in the game as you go, because it reminds me of all the stuff that, that's unfavorable for work. Maybe other people are that way as well. They do something, or they have certain kind of situations at home. In my case, it isn't at home. I don't have any home issues, thank goodness. Some people have home issues that they bring to work or whatever, but I don't. But there's things that I experience at work that there's nothing I can do about it, and that's just how it's always going to be. And I don't want to experience those things outside of work. I'm not willing to. So I don't like to play games that involve a lot of long range planning that then in a die roll can be snuffed out. So I don't mind dice rolls when things don't go back bad, when things don't go according to plan. I just don't like having a really detailed plan that I spent a lot of time working on, and then one die roll and poof. I'm more of a shoot from the hip kind of a game player. I don't know if that makes any sense. So that's why I don't like, that's one of the reasons I do not like Big Battle DBA, because Big Battle DBA involves kind of planning how your commands are going to be, and I don't want to do that. So I like having a teammate. I just don't like doing all that planning. I'm sure other people are affected by, I've worked at the same place for 27 freaking years. So, it's kind of can't help but it have an effect on you, or whatever. So, how did we get on this subject? I don't know. Let's go back to the questions and see what we did that. Oh, but I'm getting a lot of painting done because the wife is away this weekend, and she is she's not far. She went with a girlfriend to go take care of something. It's not exciting enough to really to mention. It's not really anything weird or anything, but she went to go deliver a vehicle to someone in another city. And no, the vehicle was not filled with drugs. Are there people that do drugs? I certainly don't know any. I kid that, my daughter is in high school, and I kid that she knows more about drugs than I do. I mean, I know alcohol and Advil. What else? Anything else? Nope, that's it. Alcohol always took me where I needed to go. I mean, if I needed to go somewhere. So yeah, trying to get stuff done. But the vehicles are taking a long time. I'm also taking my time with them. Um, that's why I'm actually glad that I'm not working on them exclusively, because I don't feel bad about, like, man, I've really neglected doing my DBA stuff. No, I'm mixing it up, and I'm like, I get tired of these, and these have to dry, so I'll go work on a tank for a little bit, and we're doing them both together. Although I'm pretty certain at this point, with my experience in the last 6 months, I think my World War II interest has taken over my Renaissance interest. I don't think I'll be working on the Renaissance stuff anytime soon, for a long time. And a lot of it is, I just don't have it in me to work on rules and get into arguments with people and explain why I did certain things. I'd rather just, I need to just do this. There's just too, and work is just way too busy. So I think for the short term, I have more interest in going back to my World War II roots and doing that than getting into Renaissance stuff. So there's just too much to do on the Renaissance front, and you know, it's just too involved. So, and I don't think I could do. what I'm doing now with it. It's not like I could paint one ancients unit or a few of them and then go back and paint some Renaissance stuff because I'm still doing 15s. So breaking it up with, vehicles or something like that has been kind of nice. So anyhow, I'm looking for something more escape, not necessarily more work for myself. Because a couple of months ago, I'm like, well, we could just start play testing this stuff. I'll put stands. I actually cut some of them up, and I'm just going to glue stands, glue the figures on them, and we'll start play testing the rules with the figures not painted. Because I don't want to like build these things and decide, I change my mind how things are going to be. But I'm like, I just, even with DBA, it's getting really old that people are asking the same questions over and over again. People are just, I guess they're naturally lazy. I mean, maybe I'm guilty of it as well, but it's like, they don't look at videos and stuff that you do and things like that. They want to keep asking. So I'm like, I just don't have it in me to do that with Renaissance stuff. I'm gonna let that sit for a bit until this current situation is different. Nobody experts. I know. I do that stuff all the time. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Yep, caffeine. That's right. Damn it! How did I forget that? Drink. That's the important drug, caffeine. Nothing would happen without caffeine. Multitasking. Yeah, this is about as much as I can multitask. I'm doing a fair job of it, I think. So yeah, I'm getting really I'm getting really. I don't mind explaining things to people, but I'm not one. If you guys know me, you know that I'm not really an arguer. I'm not really interested in arguing. I'm like, I'll tell you what my point is, and if you don't agree with me, then you do it however you want to do it. Okay, I'm not forcing my way for people to play a certain way. If you don't like what our rule interpretations are, well then make your own. But don't force us to play by the way you guys are. And it's just difficult to explain things in the format that DBA is to other people and to not go round and round in circles. And every time you go round and round in a circle, that's like, hold on, can't work on my show right now because I gotta explain the same thing to the same person again. And I'm like, I just don't have the stomach for it anymore. It's like some people just want to be argumentative and listen and not listen. And it's like, well, you're the one that asked the question, dude. I don't know. I've kind of always been that way, and even more so with the current situation of how things have happened in the last year. It's even worse because there's a lot of people not minding their own business. Let's put it that way. And it's not necessarily anything that I've experienced, but just a lot of busybodies. And I'm like, "Nah, I just want to work on my hobby. I just want to work on my hobby. This keeps me from going to the therapist. I think it's worked so far. Don't have a therapist. Therapists all have all kinds of freaking issues, anyways, too. You go to some therapist and they're out, banging three different women. Well, that's how it is in the movies, anyways. This is my therapy. So, like I mentioned yesterday, if somebody's working on something and you don't like what they're doing, just keep that shit to yourself. This is therapy for lots of us, and you may end up discouraging someone that from working on their hobby, and then they go on a shooting spree and come to your house. Oh man, you guys know I'm kidding. All right, what have we here? Let's see. Catch you later. Okay, Greg. Have a good evening. I was about to say have a good tomorrow, but that's not yet. That's when you catch me at night. You're already on the next day. Yeah, there's lots of stuff I see that I don't like. I don't feel like I need to comment on it. This doesn't benefit anything. And then you got to defend your position, and I don't know. Maybe there's a whole bunch of amateur lawyers now. I figure there's enough professional ones as it is already. We don't need add any more to that category. We're going to do the handle to the hand gone, Gone, hand gone. And what else do we got done to do on this guy? That's it. One thing I never did that I talked about doing was adding the Nuln oil on the helmets and then brightening that up. I've done that on some of the figures. On some, honestly, I've forgotten to do it, and I don't know that it makes that big of a difference. Not on something small like this. So, well, you know what? We'll do it because the actual gun that he's firing could actually stand to be a little darker. So how we're gonna remember that? We're gonna put Mr. Nuln oil out here. There we go. And we will do that. Way back in the day, I used to go before, I think probably before I got into DBA, and even in the early stages, I used to go on the miniatures page a lot. But the situation there just it really changed. They started adding too many message boards of things that were not hobby related. I mean, they started with like food and politics. Like, why do I want to talk about politics with people that I have a common interest in wargaming? I don't care what people's politics are, you know? We need to find stuff that unites us, not stuff that makes us different. We're all different. But that was a good place way back in the early ages of the internet, or what I call the early ages of the internet, the dial-up time period, the time of the internet that did not was not graphics heavy. And you go, hey, who makes figures for this? And there's always somebody that would answer relatively quickly. But I rarely go on there anymore. All right. Is there any face of this guy showing at all? Maybe an inkling of one. That'll work. Just an impressionistic hint of something being there. And we need his little match. Oh, and his little case too. Now, this guy's got red, so he's not going to be on the same stand as him. These guys will be together. What color is this guy's pouch? This is a light gray one. Okay. So we can do we can do something like this for the pouch here. Mm-hmm. All right, and then we've got his little match over here. Yeah, you guys in Scotland, you guys would know. Isn't Alternative Armies in Scotland? I think they are. There's just several manufacturers that are up there, including Zyston's up there, and purveyors of the largest Romans known to man in 15 millimeter. I like their figures. I just I'm just not a huge fan of book two stuff, so that's why I don't have more. But I do have several. All right, I will be right back. I need to get a drink refill and use the little boys' room. So I will be right back, and you guys can check out some vehicles. How about that? Something a little different. things I always like to see is if my leaving actually has more people show up. It looks like it. And it's like, good, I'll watch now that Tony's not there. What? Hey, you find your own reasons to watch. I'm good with that. Yes, Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock. Scotia Grendel, okay, who does Zeiston are 25 miles south of me. Oh, cool. Can you walk into their store or is it off limits? Might just be a. Did they have a storefront? Okay, null oil. Try this out. Okay, let's do him last. Although the parts of figure I'm putting this on, the paint has dried for a long time. Sorry, having a snack. Got extremely hungry. You know, I wouldn't have left the room if I had a nurse that could set me up with an IV and a diaper. Then I could just be here the whole time. No, true story. The thing that gets me, I can paint all day. I have. I think I had one painting session. It was like 9.5 hours long. But I have to get up because what gets tired on me is just sitting on me bum, even if it's only for a few minutes. But eye strain, no. This is very relaxing. Not even my back. I've got I've got this chair jacked all the way down, and which that reminds me, I got to write myself a note. Someone asked me the other day what my dimensions of my table were, and I forgot what it is. And I always remember at work when I'm not there. So I'll put on here table size. I want to say it's 3 by 4. I don't know. It's an IKEA special something or another. It wasn't very expensive, but I wanted a table that is very minimalist, and I wanted to be fairly tall so I could take my desk chair and move it all the way down, and that way I could sit as erect as possible, and then I won't have any uncomfortable back issues. It's not like I couldn't do it anyways, but there's no point in being uncomfortable while you're doing this for many hours when you could just as easily be comfortable. But I never get tired of this because of the actual painting process. It's the usually get tired of sitting. That's okay. It's good to get up every hour and a half or something like that for a little bit. So people that don't know, they're like, man, this must be really hard on your eyes. No, it's not. It's extremely relaxing on your eyes because you're always looking at everything at the same focal distance. That's at least my story. Who knows if that's really why it is, but it is very easy on the eyes. Okay. We've got these 4 chaps done. Close that so we don't have a spill like many people have had on YouTube or had pictures of it. I don't know if any of them have been live. So no, mail order or through distributors only. He does casting for some other manufacturers too. Well, that's a shame you can't just walk in there. Okay. Let's Where's my little cube? Where's my cube? Oh, it's over here. How do you guys have a look at these guys? We can get the focus here to behave properly. These are two stands of skirmishers, or Soloi as they're called in DBA. All the same pose. 15 millimeter scale, old school minifigs. Maybe not oldest school. I think some of the minifig stuff is like really primitive. But, all right. Take a break from 15s for a little bit. Let's take a look at Mr. Jeep. Tommy Jeep. Okay, so that just has the one wash on there. I'm going to, let me look at my, we're going to go ahead and mix some more of this stuff up, and we're going to do the other vehicles. What I mean by instructions is there's a wizard on YouTube that does some phenomenal vehicles. And I wanted to write down all of his processes because like 15 millimeter figures, like I've got that down, but I'm new to this and I don't want to forget like to do one thing before something else. But I'm not going to take it to the extent that he has because I don't want that uber realistic look. That's not something I'm looking for. And it'll end up blending too much. And what I mean by that is, if you look at, well, you can't tell anymore. Let me see if I can use the vehicle that doesn't have it on there. Look at the tire here on this vehicle. Okay. All this has is the equivalent of what I normally do the 15 millimeters in. Doesn't have a wash or anything. I just painted everything a really dark, this Russian green with black, and then added a little bit more and a little bit more, and just did it with dry brushing. I did pick out some of the details actually with painting, and excuse this semi-gloss kind of look to it. This will end up being flatter afterwards, but anyhow, so this is basically the way the equivalent of like say I would paint the figures. But what I'm going to do is we're going to get some weathering in here so to kind of tie this vehicle into the groundwork that it's going to be sitting in on its stand. And by doing that, I created this a wash. Look at the tires. Hold on. All right, let's get that turn. Okay, so we've got some dirt there, and that's just a wash that I did using this glaze instead of using a enamel product. The enamel product that was recommended took like 3 weeks to get here. It was like $25 for 3 bottles, which that's not really an issue for me. Cost isn't the primary thing. I just didn't want to wait 3 weeks to start working on it. And I already had this product here and really wasn't using it for anything. And it's locally available, so I can just go to the store. I can go to Hobby Lobby and pick some more up for it's $4 or $5, something like that. But this is what we did: is we gave them this wash. And when I put it on, it's very glossy looking, but it says it dries flat. And I'm like, whatever, it's not going to dry flat. Well, I'll be damned if it doesn't dry flat. Look at that. But this is the subtle difference that I said. So you can tell, look at the contrast you have between the green and the tire here. And then look at the contrast between the green and the tire here. It's much more subtle. So I do not want the entire vehicle to have that kind of a subtle difference, which a lot of these wizard painters do. And I like the way it looks because it looks extremely realistic. But I don't think wargaming figures, look extremely realistic. They look kind of like a graphic novel. So I want the vehicles to have kind of the same look. So I don't want all of these steps. So I wrote down all the steps that this wizard does in his there's several of them. It's not like it's just one person, of how the different steps they took, so I don't forget to do any of them. But I'm not going to do the whole shebang on them, or I'm going to have a vehicle that is going to look for the most part like this. It's going to be very subtle and all blend together too much when I actually want more of a contrasting look. Does that make any sense? So, like if you go on Flames of War, okay, if you go on the website for Flames of War, there's some examples of people that are painting their vehicles, and they have high contrast, and I prefer that than something that looks like it would be entered. It would be equivalent to like one of those 1/35th scale models where everything looks uber realistic, because I don't think the figures look uber realistic. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of the look I'm going for. So if you're wondering why I'm talking about like I don't want it to be so subtle, that's where I'm getting at. All right, enough about me. One, we're just going to start off with one. I don't think that it's said not to mix this, to not add more than 50% of this stuff, but I did last night and I liked the way it turned out. So that brush is too good. We need a crappier brush. But I had painted vehicles before. I don't believe I've ever done something like this before. And I would do enamels. The problem is they're just not readily available. My preference isn't to use enamels. It's see, I still went too thick on the paint compared to what I did last night. Well, all right, let's start over here. This is more like it. This is still thick. Gee whiz. All right. Well, there's certainly some parts of the vehicle that can get this much of a treatment. Wow. All right. Let's see now. There we go. All right. Let's we'll leave the turret on for now. You go away. So the main thing is I've seen a lot of people that do vehicles and they do them kind of backwards. And I mentioned this yesterday. So if this I'm repeating the same thing, just ignore me. Just turn me off and start working on your honeydew list. They paint it opposite. And what I mean by that is if you've ever seen a vehicle in your life that has dirt on its tires, the dirt accumulates on the recessed parts, not on the parts that are it's gonna accumulate inside the tread. So if you just do dry brush the dirt, you're actually doing the opposite, because the dirt is going to accumulate in between the treads and stuff. It's going to be in other places as well, but it's going to be predominantly in the tread. You know, kind of like a sneaker. If you step in dog shit, most of the dog shit is going to be in the tread. There you go. You guys can all understand that. So when you dry brush, you're just hitting the highlights, and it doesn't really have that effect. Um, what painting method do you use? I use the dog shit method. What? But this, yeah, like this. This is what I want. Now, unfortunately, this isn't a vehicle of the highest caliber of detail. So The other ones I'm going to do in the future will probably look better because they'll be better kits than this old resin thing. I mean, hell, there's not even any detail on the tire on the back side. So, all right. This can stand. And this is mindless almost. So it's nice having this as an alternative to doing the 15 millimeter figures. I'm enjoying this switching back and forth. Like I can't do anything with the 15s other than start another stand. So we're just going to work on the vehicles here for now. The other thing I like about this stuff that I didn't realize this because it's an acrylic, and I'm just learning stuff. So I may end up changing my opinions on certain things as I go because this is the second time I've used this product. But it seems to me this material is well, it's a lot thicker than say if I was doing the same process with thin down brown enamel. And so this actually allows it to stay in places that the thin down brown may have run out of. And it's kind of, I don't know, working better that way. I just wish it would dry flat a little quicker because it kind of scared me that that I was adding all this glossy stuff on it. But this stuff dries totally flat. Now, I don't know how long it takes. I did this last night. I did it about 10 hours ago. So I don't know if it takes 8 to really dry or something like that. So we will see. Well, we're going to do all this undercarriage stuff here. But like the wizard that was painting it would take this brown wash and he would cover the entire vehicle in this brown, a light brown wash. And I can see that, but it's going to make it blend a little bit too much for my taste. I can always do that on the next one. You know, I'm learning too, so I just wanted to have some contrasting stuff on there, and we will do some dry brushing, but and this is, by the way, this chocolate brown. This is the same color that I'm going to use as the base color in on the stand. So I want to take those colors that are in the stand and bring them up onto the vehicle, so that it kind of fits in the environment that it looks to be in. That's the reason to do the stand. That and I don't want people picking up a tracked vehicle and they're very flimsy vehicles that have this the 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 tracked vehicles without them being on a stand. So now this tire that's up here, I got two different ways to go. I can just pretend it's never been used, or it has been used and got put back on there. I'm not sure about which way to go on that, so we're going to ignore that. And now I made a deeper mix here. Let's add some of this around the wheel wells, and of course we're going to do the back where all this dust and stuff might have kicked up. This is just the darkest shade that any of this weathering is going to have. This is as dark as it's going to get. I mean, hell, the bumper's missing parts of it. I mean, look at the casting on the bumper. It's like it looks like it's broke. I don't know. It's these aren't the best kits. That's why I'm just kind of jumping in here with both feet, and we're gonna swim. We will swim out of here one way or another. Let's take some of this and go over the bumper with it. All right, let's get to the back. Maybe I'm spending too much time on this, but this is enjoyable. This is enjoyable so far. And the nice thing about working with acrylic stuff is I get my face all up in it and not smell anything. Oh, that's nice. No reason to be poisoned by your own hobby. And another thing I wouldn't have done a long time ago when I was working on models, I would have never painted the tires Panzer Gray. I think that's what I used. I took Panzer Gray and I darkened them a little bit. Now, let me take this. This is the thinnest one I have. And let's see. Let's do the front lightly. I kind of like that. You know, my opinions on stuff, I'm willing to change them if I see the light. Let's add a little bit to the. God, it's so subtle. So, you know, the method that most of these people are using on this is they'll use an enamel product, and in using the enamel product, they put it down and then they use mineral spirits or whatever it's thinner to kind of wipe some of it off. My concern with that is that in doing so, I'm going to be putting a product that's very wet and it could eat at the other stuff that I've done on it. And I'd rather use something like this that's a little safer and less. All right, we're going to paint some of this stuff in this brown, like they did in the description. But I'm going to go very light, mainly because I want to go over these decals and see, and not make the colors so darn perfect. Honestly, these things are looking, I could have just used them the way they were and been probably happy with it. I'm just kind of experimenting. See, I'm thinking at some point I want to do a snow vehicle that's all muddy, really with mud caked on and stuff like that. And I have to learn how to do this really basic stuff first so I can work my way into that. But I'm used to doing these methods that take a while. I just need to make sure that I have something to do in between the steps while they dry. And I'll tell you one thing, this is extremely forgiving. Extremely forgiving. So if I decide I don't, well, I probably shouldn't have done this with the turret on it. Oh well, we can get close to where we need to. This is extremely forgiving. So if I don't like the way something is, I can modify. Uh-oh, we got a comment here. What we got? Who did I piss off? Tony, have you watched Time Goes World War II week by week? Doing a lot of Russian front history recently. Germans must have just been repulsed from Moscow. No, no, I don't really watch much. I don't watch much World War II documentary because there's. I don't know how it is now, but it used to be there was so much like wrong footage and just a lot of big mistakes. Like they always have that one scene of, and you know which one I'm talking about. It's that one with a Panzer II that goes into like a creek, like at full speed, and comes out the other end. They'll show that damn footage whether they're talking about Kursk or they're talking about the Battle of Berlin. You know, it's I don't really watch World War II stuff, documentaries. I am reading a memoir right now, or having it read to me, as I like to say, through Audible. And I've got several things on my watch list. And I did play some computer World War II games. I played. If you guys like stuff that's kind of simple, I don't know if you guys play computer games at all, but there's a game made by Shenandoah Studios, which is part of Slytherin. They made several of them. They made a Battle of the Bulge one, and then they made something Advanced to Moscow or something like that. And also they had a Ella Lemaine one as well, I think it's called the Desert Fox. But I had bought it just when I had an iPad, and the 64-bit apocalypse happened before I ever got a chance to play it. So I never really got a chance to play that one. But those are kind of cool little strategic counter type games, but done in a computer format. So I don't mind counter games. I just don't like to spend a long time setting one up to play. And when you do it on the computer like that, it's already set up for you. But no, I have not played. I have not watched that footage, whatever that is. I would be. What is it? What venue is it on? Is it like on Amazon or? 'Cause I do not have cable. I have. I figure between the. And okay, we got to add a little bit of dirt to this to this tire. We can do the light one though. The problem with TV is here's the times when I have to watch TV. I'm not watching it now because I'm working on my hobby. If I wasn't filming, I wouldn't watch it because I would end up staring at it, and then my paints would dry. Lunchtime, okay, on a work day, lunchtime. But you know, I'm not. The daughter isn't going to watch it. You know, so anytime that I'm watching any TV that she wants to watch, that's not really included. I just have very limited time to watch. Now with a book on tape, I can watch it at least while I'm on the drive to and from work. You know, so there's that, but I don't really watch much television. I don't find it very engaging. So I'd much rather play a video game because I get to make decisions. And you know what I mean, video game. I'm not talking a first person shooter like, oh well, you just want to get some action quick. No, it's something where you get to make some decisions. I'm always doing stuff that involves using your brain. I've always been that way. You know, I'm maybe it's why I never got into drugs. No, I'm always thinking about stuff. I enjoy it. So, all right, let's see. I'm trying to get farther away from this so I can. All right, let's get some up here on the turret. So, see, I changed my mind about not putting this brown wash over the vehicle. See, I'm gonna have to change my opinions if it looks like it's different. Here I said, I don't know about chipping. I'm probably still not going to do chipping, but I'm going to do some rust stuff. Minimal, but all right. Let's see if I can get this far enough from the screen so you guys can see what I can see. And you put my glasses so I can find myself. And it's ever so subtle. Ever so subtle. Get this out of the way. And we're still going to do dry brushing later, but this just kind of puts the wash thing. We got some dirt in the tires there. You know, obviously all these tires will be complete. They'll have dry brushing on them to get the top highlight section, but you need the wash down stuff to get into grooves and stuff like that. Okay, that's how this is. And the nice thing is if this dries and I'm like, it's not dirty enough, well, just do it again. You know, no harm, no foul. Now this time, you know what? We're not going to take it off this guy either. But see his 29 number, it's way too bright. It's way too bright. So we're going to go over that a little bit. Okay. YouTube. Okay. They do 1 week, 10 to 15 minutes YouTube video, usually with relevant pictures, but they're working through the whole war. All right. So I want to write that down as well. It is called, have you watched Time Ghost World War II week by week? All right. Let me go to my thing here. Time Ghost. Ghost. Week by week. You ever watched a guy on YouTube called, and I came across this guy because of looking for stuff for a game I used to play, and probably still would play it if I had an opponent for it, called Close Combat. It's an excellent freaking game. It's not very graphics heavy. But it's an excellent freaking game. This guy's name is Tick, Tik, all capital letters. He's a gamer that ended up doing history stuff. He does history videos, and is it all his stuff World War II? I'm pretty sure all his stuff is World War II. And he's from the UK, and he quit his job, and he's doing that full time. He's been doing that for some time. And the thing I like about him is that he gives some fresh perspectives on which to look at things that we've known a certain way for so long. And so he started delving about most of his stuff are actually Russian front stuff as well. So he's got a lot of videos out there, and he's kind of really interesting to listen to. Even though I may not agree with what he says all the time, he gives, I think, good points about why he thinks the way they are. But a lot of the stuff that we grew up learning about World War II, I mean, I'm not that old, but we started doing World War II when Russia was still closed up. And you can argue about that, whether it's really opened up now or not at all, but the Russian archives were not open as far as, so you're getting World War II from only one side for the most part. And so it was kind of refreshing to listen to some stuff that involved information that maybe wasn't exactly, it was from a different source than what we grew up knowing from. So his stuff is pretty interesting. And he's a war gamer. So because he's a war gamer, he gives us wargaming stuff that we find interesting. Like he's got a series on Stalingrad, and he talks about where the units are and how they're, like flow charts of what's attached to what, and what's in what unit and who the commander is, and has a little snippet of like a little picture of the commander. So it really helps your understanding of the whole situation a lot better. Us war gamers, we want to know, what units were there, what kind of tanks those units had, the kind of stuff that us war gamers like to know. So, okay, so this is just a preliminary wash here on the bottom. And for some reason, the colors are not really coming out as well here as they are in person. They look a lot Like there's hardly any on here in the picture, but there's actually more on the thing. You just have to trust me. Studio WGS. Hello, tomorrow. It's tomorrow over there, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. Harvey Dirt. Afternoon. Did you mean ever so slightly? No. I'm a morpher though. So, I'll eventually start using. I mean, the stuff that I use at the beginning of the videos, I do it to make fun of Mitch, and get the jump on it. But I'll have some conversation at work and probably end up using ever so slightly. Because if I hear something enough, I start like morphing into that. Maybe it's because I can do impressions. I don't know. I just do that. My wife calls me the mighty morpher. So there's certain places, like for instance, that I'm forbidden to go to because I don't need to morph into that accent. Like Boston, I'm not allowed to go to Boston. I'm kidding, of course, but yeah, I morph into different things. So, if spend some time in UK, I'd eventually have some UK mannerisms, I'm sure. So maybe there's places in the UK that you would recommend I don't go to because it would be, because you can't already stand the accent of the people that already live there. I know that there's particular nuances about different colloquialism things. So start a feud. Time goes between wars is also good. Okay. Ever so slightly. Rutabaga. You guys, I don't know if you guys caught the little snippet that I put in there about the backstory of how the rutabaga thing started. So that's grown into something of itself. I've never seen a rutabaga, and when I saw a picture, I'm like, oh, that's just a beet. No, it's a rutabaga. Well, a beet's a lot more attractive a name than a rutabaga. Rutabaga sounds like something I don't want to put in my mouth. We're going to go kind of thick around here. This is going to be an area where this dust and crap is just going to collect. BT7. I always like these BT7 tanks. They're really cool. Don't want to be in one. I don't want to be in any of these vehicles. I want to be in a war. But this stuff's cool. The way all the different methods and equipment that we use to exterminate each other is really fascinating. I don't want to be in any of this stuff. I'm just the painter. Put a thin layer on here. There we go. That changed the color of the numbers. See if I can show you guys on the other side. All right, let's get close in here. Wow, let's do this backwards. All right, let's see if I can show you guys. Just a little bit. Not make it as doing bright. Oh, you can see some of the dirt collecting here. There you go. Get up in here. Like we're going to leave this little happy box. We're going to leave that happy box alone. I don't want to weather that. At least I think I don't want to. We'll leave it alone for now. How about that? And I guess we're going to have dirt and stuff on here as well. Although this is definitely going to need to get a darker wash. I'm enjoying a living. I mean, yes, this is taking a while. I'm enjoying the process of doing this a lot. So, and I actually made some antennas out of sprue. You guys that are modelers know what I'm talking about. Out of stretch sprue. But there's no radio on these things. On this one in particular. One of the reasons that they didn't do so well against the Germans. That and they had a problem with spare parts. I mentioned this yesterday. I'm not used to calling these guys Soviets. I've always called them Russian. Same thing. I always call the Wehrmacht. I don't call them Wehrmacht. I just call them the Germans. So that's just what I've always done. But this Tick guy I was talking about, he started off really playing close combat a lot, and then got into the history, and then he realized that he really enjoyed the history, and then started doing some history programs, and it just supposedly took off. Well, that's what he says that what the story is, so I'll take his word for it. So but he's interesting in that he puts a fresh perspective on things that kind of puts many things that we thought growing up about the Second World War on their head, and I'm all for that. I mean, it's I don't want to reinforce opinions I already have. I'm willing to look at new information. So, but he's controversial in a lot of the things that he says because, in a nutshell, his position is that, and I'm not going to argue with him because I mean he's read all these other books, so I'm going to take his word for it. But we always grew up that basically the reason that Russia didn't work is Hitler meddled, and he, the German generals knew best, and he didn't listen to them. That's the short answer. Okay, there's obviously a lot of other factors, but what this guy basically says is that it made Hitler to make seem smarter than we all grew up thinking that he was. And I mean from a strategic thinking kind of way. And I'm not so sure that a lot of us are going to buy that, but it's interesting looking at the other perspective of it. You know, some things we're probably never going to know, but um, so the war for oil, it was all decided by that, according to him. He has one of his episodes. That's what it is. That's basically what the topic of that episode is. Check it out if you'd like. Okay. I think we're good with this. I think we're good with this. Let's not go too freaking heavy. And this will dry flat. It's really quite amazing. I'm like, oh crap, what have I done? Now it's going to take me forever to get that gloss off. Nope. All right. All right, let's rinse this out. We're going to go ahead and rinse these little pots out. I don't want this stuff to accumulate on there. And it's a pain to get off. I'll be right back. Now that I can tell how much of this glazed medium I'm using, if I end up using it for a lot of other things, I will probably. So, but now I know what it is. So, um, yeah, kind of cool. I like it. I like it. I like it. Like it. All right. Let's let's sharpen up the helmets. So by doing that, we're going to. We could probably use the same. These guys probably wouldn't have a helmet that's super polished. We could just use the same color. We don't need to go up one. Yeah, you know what? We're going to go up one. Screw it. One up one meaning the brighter metallic color from Lead Belcher. This one is Ironbreaker. Oh, this one doesn't have the mixing ball in it. Well, let's grab the one that does. I had two of these. I didn't even know I had two. There we go. All right. Let's put these little tankies over here. I know, only one of them's a tank. Yeah, yeah. BT series radio antenna was the loop around the turret. Very difficult to scratch build and super fragile on the model. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, so like the T26s and the BTs never had a whip antenna. Okay. And I guess the T28s didn't either. And the T35s. The ones that did or looked very different. Well, they didn't have very many tanks that had radios, so I probably should avoid those vehicles that have that. There's very few that had. So Michael Shalou. Good evening. Good morning again. Good morning for me. Maybe it's good evening for you. Excellent. Thanks for coming back. We got 35 minutes until I have to sign off. We have a hard stop today. Unfortunately. No, it is what it is. Okay. We're going to highlight some here on the helmet top. Oh, we need to thin this a little bit more. Easier to work with. Just a thin coat is enough. Okay. We're going to leave some of this darker part next to the space between it. The black lining in between it. Okay, and we're not going to put any of it on the actual gun part. Although that's probably iron, so I've probably already painted it the wrong damn color. I'll tell you what, I'll do some researching on it, but I believe that might actually be iron. If it's actually steel or something like that, then I'm good the way I am. But if it's iron, I have to go check it out. I'll have to repaint it in black. No big deal. I'd rather do that now than later anyways. The known oil basically allows me to create a color that is one shade darker than the darkest metallic and use that as kind of the starting point. Today's a rain day again. So, oh, by the way, guess you couldn't tell I sprayed those guys yesterday on a rain day and I didn't get cloudiness. Not being cocky, I'm just saying, the people that are having those issues with the cloudiness or either have a bad batch of spray paint or something because it doesn't get more humid than Florida. So, like I said, I think what I've always done is, and I didn't do it on purpose, it just kind of happens. I don't bring my spray paints in here. I leave them in the garage. So the can is always at the same temperature that I'm spraying in. And I don't know whether it's if you have a can here at 68 degrees or 70 degrees or whatever you keep the inside of your house at, and then you go into a hot garage like 90, 95, then, maybe it's misting and changing temperatures and clouding that way. Maybe you're applying the clear coats too thick. I know somebody else has mentioned that that might be the case. I don't want to apply them too thick because I'll cover up detail, so maybe it's a mixture of those things. I'm not sure, but Jeffrey Smith, the oil war is an interesting aspect of World War II. One of my areas of interest is how the Commonwealth forces protected the oil fields in Persia and Iraq and German intervention there. You just won an auction on eBay for a Moldavian army to fight my Hungarians. Yay. I've got Moldavian figures to do. I could literally roll in and do a Moldavian army, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm more interested in doing, I don't know, well, there's a lot of light troops in the Moldavian army. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Snow day here in Aberdeen. Oh, rub it in. Tank color is quite subjective. The Tank Museum in Wilmington painted their Matilda Mark IIs wrongly. It became accepted as accurate. Oh, yeah. Museums, I'm not going to knock one museum in particular, but just because stuff's at the museum and the placard says such and such doesn't mean it's right. I mean, to them it's just a job. For us that are World War II nuts, it's a religion. So, oh man. Okay, that's done. Where to now? We got about a half hour. Let's take a look at these guys again. It's just so creepy to have it this shiny. Oh well. I have confidence in it now. We have the example, and this is as flat a vehicle as I've ever had. So this is kind of subtle on the tires. So if the tires on some of those other ones are end up being as subtle as this, I'll end up doing another coat on it to make it a little bit more, make it more brighter. So all right, right. The blue color on the Matilda should be a gray blue color. I see. So it's in counter. Weathering powders, no. No, that's way too subtle. That's making our glazes with this. So, yeah, if I was making a 1/35th scale model or something like that, we would get in pastels and doing all that stuff. I actually did that back in the early 90s. We'd like buy pastels and like put them in different places and then sealed them. And I don't know. We've used all kinds of different methods. So, um, right. So we've got war wagons to do. I could put together the other war wagon. Of course, I've got to go find him. We've got War Wagon Crews. We've got the Knights. The only reason I would do the Fast Knights is to do an earlier army. I may forego doing the Fast Knights altogether and just say when these guys use Knights, they're always going to be the deep ones. I may do that. I don't know. My opinion could change at any moment. All right, so these war wagons, I'm thinking they're going to be a wood color. And then they're going to have shield devices and stuff like that on them. Probably only one. Like I can see having a shield device here in between these two, like in this area here. Okay. That's what I foresee having on that. So we do have another war wagon to build. I really don't feel like messing with epoxy right now. So let's see what we got here on these gunners. I believe these are two different poses. You get the guys that see through the helmets and the guys that have the helmet on their head. Okay. Well, these guys also have the helmet on their head, but the distinguishing factor is these guys. Okay, so we'll probably have one of each on each one of these war wagons. So I'm gonna have four guys. They're gonna be sitting here side by side with them, and probably have one guy on the ground that's gonna hold a flagpole. I'm thinking I may not do the flagpole thing, but regardless, okay. So let's do all of one pose. That seems to work better for figure variety. All right, let's start off with black and make sure and touch up anything that we may have not gotten the primer on, because invariably there's always something, but it's always on the recesses, which means it's not like I've got to use some kind of super paint. It just has to be enough that that it's not going to stand out. Nope, wrong side. I remember it's the one with the R. It's R for the right one. Must be a Matilda in the counter scheme. I didn't know it was called that. I always called it Crazy Quilt for the desert. Because that's kind of how it is. I like that scheme. But it's not blue, huh? Well, there's a lot of books that have illustrations that are wrong then, because there's a lot of books where that light gray is shown as light blue. So there's a lot of books with wrong coloration on them. There's one of the schemes that the Royal Navy used in home waters in 1940. I forget what it's called because I've been out of it so long. But in 1940, it had a lot of greens and stuff like that. And I've got a couple of books that have like ship illustrations, and it just looks god awfully wrong. It just looks horrible in that scheme, and I'm sure that's not what the colors were. May have been greenish, but or the infamous Mountbatten pink, light or dark, not really pink, and then how to make it. I got some color chips from when I was doing World War II naval. There was a company that was selling the actual like color chips for those colors, and I have them in a binder. If I ever decide to go back and do World War II naval, sold all my other ships that I had. They weren't painted well. They, if any of you bought them, my condolences. Yeah, they looked okay. I mean, when we didn't know any better, and the '80s, but oh, if they looked good, I wouldn't have gotten rid of them. It was a chieftain video that highlighted the issue as he stood. I know who the chieftain is. Some of his stuff is pretty interesting. I find, and I don't want to offend anybody, okay, but I find his accent annoying. And the reason I find his accent annoying is because it's neither here nor there. He sounds American, but then he sounds a little Irish, but then he sounds not, and it's like, dude, pick something. But no, his videos are actually really cool, and I like because it focuses on like hatches and all those different things. So the game is kind of trash, but his stuff is good. The Chieftain video it highlighted the issues. He stood next to the Bovington's Matilda Tank Museum. Shows it's wrong, but haven't gotten around to sorting it. Okay. Yeah, the Chieftain. He gets in. I forget what tank he was in. I was watching some video where he gets in there, and he's a pretty tall dude. He's like 6'2" or 6'3" or something like that. Lanky Joker. And man, he just couldn't get in some places. Those shows are actually really interesting when you see stuff like that. Or there was a show that was running on Discovery Channel many years ago, back when we had it, or the History Channel or something. Was the tank rebuilds or whatever? So they'll take an old like tank and like go in and fix it, and you're like, man, there's some cramped situations in those vehicles. Just the fumes alone from getting stuck in one of those. There's an episode where he went in a turret with somebody else. Somebody else was with him, or whatever. I forget who it was. I don't think it was Lindy Beige. I think it was somebody else, but something like that. It was some other YouTube person, I think, that went in with him. And I'm like, man, that's just two people in a vehicle, and it's freaking tight as hell. Might have been Lindy Beige. I don't know. Lindy Beige is fun to watch because he's so damn animated. You know, I still don't understand why some people don't use their real name. I think it's too I think it's too annoying to try to explain to people who you really are to use a handle. Just freaking, it's not like I'm going to say controversial things that I don't want to own up to. I don't know. Maybe I'm not famous enough. Was it a Churchill? It might have been a Churchill, the vehicle I'm thinking of. I have a model of one of those from Airfix, and holy road wheels, Batman. Holy world, holy road wheels. And at the Mark 7 had more armor, had more frontal armor than a Tiger. I mean, it was a beast. Slow as hell. But man, that's some beast stats. Okay. before we leave for what I'm going to do. It's called breakfast. Well, before I leave for breakfast with the daughter, we'll spray these guys in their gloss coat so then we can start. I'd like to get them based tonight. So, and hopefully I can remember to base my Brits, my World War II Brits, at the same time and get some modern basing looking on them and just see how I like that. Or maybe I won't do it because I'll get sidetracked and go down a rabbit hole. All right, so these guys are, yes, they've got helmets and the old dicky things on their heads. They're around their necks. All right. Let's get the metal out. Second breakfast. Actually, it'd be third, I think. Hey, it's the weekend. Who's counting? But it's an American breakfast, so it's worth eating. Oh, snap. You guys have seen that picture on the internet. It's floating all over the internet. It has some big plate of food from the United Kingdom somewhere. And it said, okay, you can only remove one item. Which one's it going to be? And I'm looking at it. And now remember, I'm actually somebody I would not consider myself a picky eater. I like lots of things. I was raised in a way that you had to eat everything on your plate. But there's weird shit that I'm not going to eat, you know? And yeah, I look at that plate and I'm like, yeah, I could lose about three things on there. So you folks across the pond eat some different things for breakfast. Let's put it that way. But that's okay. I mean, you know, if I was raised over there, I'd probably eat that stuff too. So it's English breakfast. We had one of those one time and never again. I'm not eating that black sausage stuff. No. No, that's where I draw the line. English bacon's excellent though. That's it's limpy, and that's how I prefer my regular bacon. I don't like crispy bacon. It changes the taste of it, and I can eat it, but it's not as good. What else? I don't like baked beans at all. I like all beans except baked beans. So I'm out on that. What else? That's it. Everything else is okay, I think. Yeah, I don't eat baked beans at all. I don't care if it's 4th of July or it's the only bean I don't like, you know? Don't knock our cooked breakfast, be it full English, Scottish, or Irish, full fry. I'll post a picture of what I had for breakfast later today. I actually already have one, so I don't have that every day, but that's kind of the. Well, look at the bright side. I won't be eating any of your baked beans. You guys can have them all. Fried egg, yes. Bacon and baked beans is a good meal. No, I don't. I don't do the baked beans. Sorry. If they were black, sure. If they were kidney, sure. I don't care for them. No. What's the other thing? Tomato. Lots of people. Okay, I'm not one of them. I love tomatoes. Lots of people hate tomatoes, and it just reminded me of the picture that I saw with all this stuff. Like, why do you hate tomatoes? Tomatoes are like super clean. Like, I like everything tomato except ketchup. I've thrown something out the window because I got something with a with ketchup on it. I cannot stand the smell of ketchup. So yeah, I think ketchup, baked beans, and like weird meat things are like the only things I won't eat. I'm fine eating everything else. And I could eat baked beans if I had to, but if something has ketchup, I am absolutely not having it. It's the only tomato product I can't stand, and it must be the white vinegar and the sugar when they mix together that just creates a concoction of sweet and sour oh, and Thousand Island stuff. No, but that has ketchup in it. That's why. Black or blood pudding is an acquired taste. I'm with you on baked beans. I'd rather baked beans than black or blood pudding. That was no. Mm-mm, no. An acquired taste is scotch is an acquired taste. Okay. I've acquired it. But, IPA is an acquired taste. Um, like I would eat, what's the stuff that you guys have in Australia? I know there may not be any Australians now on there right now. Vegemite, I think I've had it one time. Okay, I don't like it, but I could eat it. I'm not like grossed out by it. But yeah, he's about to have black pudding and baked bean sandwich with ketchup, right? On is there any bread I hate? No, no. That's body by bread. Oh man, that's English breakfast, right? Scottish breakfast could only be worse. Oh man, that's all right. We love you guys anyways. It's all good. Hey, we don't make you eat things you don't want to eat either. Everybody should be able to eat whatever they want. So, yeah, I don't like eating body parts. It wouldn't take much for me to give up eating meat. Ham, that's what I like. Oh, that's the stuff. That's the stuff as far as meat goes. And I like other stuff, but that's what I have every day. I have a salad for lunch every day when I bring it to work and it has ham on it, along with all the other green stuff that goes with it. Ham. Gotta have olive oil. I have olive oil every freaking day. That's the dressing. You don't need no complicated dressing. Just put olive oil on it. But I don't know why so many people, and it's really common. And I know many people that will not touch a tomato, but will douse things in ketchup. And I got a coworker that you can tell when he's having ketchup will stink up the entire office with it. I'm like, I can't stand that smell. Enjoy. Cold porridge is my current favorite. I can't say that I've ever had that, but it doesn't sound gross. Um, Scottish and Irish breakfast has black and white pudding. I don't want to know what white pudding is. Ugh. Your ancestors, your ancestors during the feudal age and before suffered terrible hardships. Why do you guys insist on continuing those to suffer those terrible hardships, man? Mm. One thing I always like to say, just imagine how bad food in England would have been if the Normans hadn't taken over. Oh, oh man. Hey, and they eat weird shit in the motherland too. Okay, I'm not eating brains and stuff like that. No. So that's the first thing I do when I travel to other countries. I miss the level of food that we have here, and that's probably common to everybody. You know, you're used to food how it is in your country, and it's not necessarily American food because I'm not a hamburger steak person. I mean, I like Indian food. I mean, I like all this stuff, but I like the way it's presented and served that I'm used to here in this country. So that's usually the first thing that I miss. So, and ice. I have ice in everything. Everything. Except beer. That's taking it too far, okay? And soup. Soup isn't worth a damn with ice in it, okay? But everything else, yeah. Ice. Ice, ice, baby. But it's just mainly meats I'm picky of. Like I don't care for I don't like any I don't care for anything gamey. I don't care for lamb. You know, it's like there's lamb. Okay, that's fine. I'm good with vegetables, and I just don't like the taste of it. You know, I don't like the taste of it. Or goat. No. Nope. I'd rather eat baked beans than lamb. Let's put it that way. Oh man. Oh man. We really got people worked up with food. Jeffrey Smith, I hate ketchup or any tomato sauce, but otherwise love tomato. Okay. You moved up on my people that I like, Jeffrey. Thank you. I love cocktail sauce. Like cocktail sauce is, I think, wonderful. I think it's like fries with yeah, but I mean, you know, everybody ketchup, now. Marinara, all that stuff is good. It's just, it's only ketchup I don't like. My identical twin hates tomatoes. I love them. It's how to tell us apart. And he has a slight New York accent now. Oh, that's two things I don't like about him. He doesn't eat tomatoes and he sounds like one of them. My dad used to eat lamb's brains for breakfast. Only thing I could not stomach. No. I mean, why? What did you do wrong? Hamburger, the delicacy introduced from Hamburg, but it was called Bulletin, if I remember correctly. Okay. Potted hide is potted hide is a delicacy in parts of Scotland. Every part of the animal is used. Oh no. See, you just you know, I'm gonna no. Yeah. I don't even want to I don't want to see how they get ham to my table. If it gets too like I said, if it gets too graphic, I'm uh I'm just going to I'll just eat vegetables and bread. And whiskey. I don't care what animal gets killed in the process of making whiskey. Does any animal get killed in the process of making whiskey? I still have that. I eat too many different things to have to suffer through any of those. Now the funny thing is Mitch is a butcher. That's what he does for a living, so he can stomach all that stuff. You know, but the slacker can't paint figures. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not into that. All right. Should talk about food more often, man. It got you guys all worked up. You guys are ready to have a third breakfast over there. Your twin brother has a slight New York accent. That's ought to be really strange in Scotland? I know he probably lives in New York, which is definitely not the place to live in right now. It's like a foreign country for me. I've been there a couple times, and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't do well here. I wouldn't do well here. Or really any city of that size. That's not my thing. I'm a suburbia person. Breakfast is about 7 hours away. Okay. I guess that means you're an Aussie? Cool. I'm guessing. That would make sense. Just south of Sydney. Okay. One of these days, maybe we'll make it out there. Just so far away. Need to be retired just so I don't have to worry about trying to get everything done in very little time. I suspect it wouldn't feel that much different than the United States. I call that a good thing, but sometimes if you go someplace, it just doesn't feel like a foreign country. Like I've been to Puerto Rico 3 or 4 times. I don't feel like it's another country or another Commonwealth. You know what I mean? I mean, you can drink the water. This my cell phone works just the same. It uses minutes. I can speak the language. They drive just like it's Miami. So maybe you could argue maybe it already is a different country by that stretch of, by that reason. But it just doesn't feel like it's like I'm going somewhere different. So would imagine Canada would be the same way. I wouldn't want to live in Puerto Rico though. I need more order. I'm I can't handle that Latin American lack of order. I'm not one of those you can do whatever you want and if people are in your way kind of person. I want a little bit more respect for other folks than that. Can't live in a place where you're waiting to park in a parking lot and somebody's getting ready to pull out and you have your turn signal on, you're the first one there, and then somebody comes in and scoops it up behind you like it was theirs to get, and then they cuss you out. I'm not living in an environment like that. Nope. And that might be every big city that's that way, but you can count me out. That's too hostile. Okay, did we get the little knee pads on these guys? Yeah. You should try Japan. Very orderly and different. No. No, I'm pretty sure that Japan is a land of extreme extremes. That whole subway stuffing thing, no. That's the weirdest thing. Because, yeah, they're really proper and keep their distance and then they get shoved in like sardines on a subway. And then they have earthquakes. And no, you lost me with the earthquake. I'm not an earthquake person. But P.S. Watch the clock. Well, she's going to come here. Let's see. Is it time to quit? You guys. Let me do a check and see if I in fact do need to quit. Well, I probably could have gotten away with another 15 minutes of painting, but you had to remind me that the time was up. So, anyhow, this is a good a stopping point as any, and we will go spray these little guys. Is it current? I think it's currently raining. It should be okay. What's the worst thing that could happen? Nothing. I think it's people putting the spray on too thick. To be honest with you. I mean, if you're spraying in the middle of rain while raindrops are falling on it, it's one thing. But you know, uh, you know, saws. Is that sorry? I think that's what it is. No, it's good. We have to go get breakfast. She has I have to take her to her driving exam. Well, she's already has her learning permit, but she's got a driving class that she's taking because they got one of those special vehicles that has like the brakes or whatever. So if they do something crazy or they can stop them because I'm too much of a control freak to have to ride in a car with someone that doesn't really know what they're doing. Not on the open road, anyways. I freak out. So, but anyhow, yeah, that's what we got. We got breakfast, and I'll show you guys a picture there on the community side of what a proper Tony breakfast looks like. I had one last week, and I took a picture of them on there. So that's anyhow. We will see you guys next time. Don't know if I'll be back on today, but I will if I can. All right, folks. Happy painting and enjoy your Sunday. Bye bye.